a man who's essential to this gathering. We wouldn't have had this gathering without him. He's the spokesperson for Revolution Books up in Harlem. He's also one of the instigators of refusefascism.org. So please welcome Andy Z.
I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. This is inspiring, it's joyous, but I'm going to have two things to tell you. I'm going to talk some reality about what it is we face, but more importantly, I'm going to challenge you. We say here that in the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. And just about 6 weeks ago, we formed refusefascism.org, and you can find out a lot more about the organization at the website www.refusefascism.org. And we said when we came to confront what it is that we are facing, that we can't let it happen. We are not talking about trying to survive under a fascist regime. We talked about stopping it. Now it seems at this point likely that tomorrow there'll be the ascension to power of Donald Trump. He's going to be, as of tomorrow, in charge of the most powerful nation in the world with nuclear weapons at his command. Bombers that President Obama just couldn't resist on his last day in office, sending 12,000 miles to Yemen and killing a whole bunch of people on his last day. But this is now going to be in the hands of a fascist, and for refusefascism.org, this wasn't just a curse word, not just a pejorative. This is a real thing. We were talking, just came back from Washington, and just by the way, tonight in Washington, the police have tear-gassed protesters. So things are sharpening up right now as we sit here. We said this isn't just a curse word. We were talking to some of the government workers and agitating in front of the Trump International Hotel, and we said to them, business as usual next week for you, should you not walk out of work and fill the streets in protest. We'll be making lists of Muslims. We'll be hiring engineers to build walls. We'll be figuring out how to put together the racist policy of stop and frisk on a national level. You'll be figuring out how to strip away Planned Parenthood and the right to contraception and abortion care. I could go on this for half an hour, I won't. But the thing about what we're facing is it's more than the sum of its parts. It's actually a fascist regime. If you look at it, what it means is going to be open suppression of civil liberties, of democratic rights, of the incitement of a mob. You saw it in the election, you've seen it since. And let me come to the challenge. He will be inaugurated tomorrow, but it doesn't mean necessarily at this point that his hands on the reins of power has to be consolidated. We in refusefascism.org feel that the contradictions are so sharp right now that people can, if they would pour into the street in their millions and create a situation similar to Tahrir Square or what just happened last month in South Korea, that maybe we could create a political crisis such that those in the ruling powers of this country come to their senses and begin to find the means through which to remove this person from office before he gets full control. Now, yes, that's a long shot, but it's a shot that you have to take. I'm not calling for protest as usual. I'm calling for people to put something on the line, to go out in your thousands, in your tens of thousands, and your millions, starting tomorrow at the inauguration and here in New York, and then on Saturday at the Women's March and in cities across the country, and then Monday and Tuesday. Because we don't want to be living under a fascist America. Bertolt Brecht once said, in time of darkness will there be singing? He said, well, in times of yes, there will be singing. There'll be singing of the darkness. We don't want that. We don't need that. There is still the possibility of stopping this. We won't go away. We'll continue to fight, but you need to join that fight. This is not a spectator sport of a few thousand protesters. So the second thing I want to ask you to do is to contribute. You've contributed tonight to come to this benefit concert for refusefascism.org. And Arturo Farrell, I want to give him many thanks for putting this concert together. Adam O'Farrell. And in the second row here is a jazz musician from Chicago, Ted Sirota, who formed an organization called Degenerate Artists Against Fascism. 1,500 musicians and artists have signed it. But here's what I'm going to ask you to do. There's baskets passing around. We have thousands of people, hundreds of people who've come from around the country, have come to Washington, D.C. They're in the streets. Tonight, some of them were tear gassed. People are in jail, and we need to raise an awful lot of money. Your donation tonight is not sufficient to cover the expenses in continuing this fight, and particularly if we can actually break through and get the millions in the street. So please give generously. There's many times you hear fundraising pitches that say, give like the future depends on it, but never, and I have said that many times at Revolution Books for those of you who have been there, but never has it been so true that the future of all of humanity depends on whether or not you, whether we, together, stand up and fight like we've never fought before to stop this fascist America. So during the next performance, pass the baskets around, and I want to thank you for coming, and I hope to see you at the barricades and on the streets. Whether you come in candlelight and stand in procession, or you join the rowdy ones, it's all good. We have to be out there in our millions. So thank you very much, and please, refuse fascism.